What's up, YouTube? College football playoff was upon us. We got the second round. Yeah, the bowl game so far has been phenomenal. Some of the best bowl games I've seen. So many overtime games. USF held the record for the longest overtime for about, 2-3 days?
For a day and a half.
For a day and a half, and we got broken again. So, we're getting some exciting games this year, and it's been pretty fun. The playoff games, not so much. But we'll get into that. Brett, you want to say anything about the bowl games, or you want to get right into it?
Oh, I would love to say something about the bowl games real quick. As you know, we have a Bowl Mania League going right now. And the Reese football crew, Matt's in second, I'm in third.
Yes, sir.
We are showing out for this group, and there may or may not be some money involved. So let's fucking go Reese football.
1-2 combo, you know.
And Dan's in like 15th.
Oh, Dan's just there for the vibes. He's just here for the vibes, alright?
He was there for the charity.
He was just there for the charity. He's just donating. Well,
he didn't pick the fucking Cougs. He
didn't
picked
pick his
Colorado,
Cougs,
which I
man.
thought was crazy. That was insane, man. I didn't pick the Cougs either, honestly.
I did though. I picked it up for Dan.
Yep.
Specifically
You're the
for
one
Dan.
that backed the Cougs.
Yeah, back to Cougs. After all
And the
the mean
Mormons.
stuff you said about BYU, I had to back the Cougs.
I know. I regret not picking BYU because of, well, I did say BYU was going undefeated, and then they started losing. So I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? Let me go with Colorado to pay my reparations. And BYU came back and won. So I
Oh,
feel like
that's true.
we're back. It's even. I lost a couple points. They lost a couple games. No big deal.
Okay, yeah, I hope the fans knew that because I don't know if you saw it, but in the crowd there was someone holding a poster and it had our logo, Reese Football, with a giant X on it from the BYU section.
Oh, Jesus. Well, that was directed towards you.
Okay.
Once again, I said nothing but good things about BYU. I said Retzlaff was the next Jesus Christ
Yeah,
incarnate. That's what I said. That's the highest praise you can give someone, I feel.
yeah. At
And
least
it's
you
not
didn't
my
call.
fault that he folded.
At least you didn't call what we called their rivals. Their starting quarterback. We called them the college football Judas. You know, Cam Rising.
I did say that.
So
And I think
think
Cam
we're big
Rising's coming
Cougs.
back for his 9th collegiate year, by the way. We can talk
Oh.
about that later, but
all right.
I think he's back next year.
There you go. The gift that keeps on giving. It's like holiday season, man. David
Jesus.
Pavia just wants to keep on giving.
I'll be 32 by the time those guys are graduated.
All right. So, with all that being said, second round of the playoffs starts with the Fiesta Bowl. We got the Penn State versus Boise State. The battle of the states here. Penn State
Okay.
Penn State's favored by 11. They got a 65% chance of winning according to ESPN. Not a lot of love given to Boise State's way, but their strength is definitely in the Heisman runner-up, Aston Genty. He should have won the Heisman in my opinion, but
He should have.
that's a different story. But yeah, that's their strength. Penn State, their strength is definitely the run defense. So they've only allowed 100 rushing yards per game this year. So that's an interesting battle going head to head there. And Penn State got Drew Aller, who's been he's been getting better throughout the season, and he definitely progressed this season than compared to last. So, but it's always the storyline: can James Franklin win the big games? Is this considered a big game? We'll find out. But
I think it is. I think
mean-
this constitutes as a big game.
no, but like a big game, it's the playoffs, but it's Boise State. I think Penn State wins by like 20. Give me
You're the
this.
number 3 team in the nation.
No, they're number 3 in the playoffs. They were number
Oh,
10
It doesn't
in the
matter.
nation.
It doesn't matter. The seeds are the seeds. They're number 3 in this tournament here.
Do you have
And
any hope for
technically
Boise?
I do have hope for Boise, and I'll tell you why. Penn State, their number 1 receiver is a tight end.
Okay.
That cannot be good for their pass offense. I didn't even realize that until
He's
I
a hell of
looked
a
it up
tight end,
just
though.
now. Tyler Warren is a hell of a tight end. He's going to be an NFL player one day.
Yeah.
But for him to only have 1,095 yards and lead the team, usually, I mean, like Brock Bowers, when he led the team for Georgia, he had close to 1,500 receiving yards. And then the second place guy was close to 1,000. This is a completely different scenario with Penn State. They are a run-heavy team with Nicholas Singleton and, oh my God, Allen, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Aller and Allen.
Yeah.
I think it's Katron Allen. So
Yeah,
both
yeah,
teams
you
are
got
going to
it.
look to run the ball. Boise State's defense is just not good enough to stop Penn State's running offense, I would assume. Just based on Penn State's Big Ten offensive linemen. We know how Big Ten do it around here. Them Iowa boys, they're strong on the line, okay? And that's what Penn State loves to go for. They go for the Midwest boys. Boise State's got a couple, but I don't know. Boise State matched up fairly decently against Oregon, but that was Oregon's second game with their new slate of guys. And I think if Oregon and Boise State played again in Oregon right now, that game would be really bad. It would be probably a 28-point victory by Oregon. I think Penn State's relatively comparable to Oregon. Obviously, the defense is really good. That's what Penn State prides itself on. I don't know if they're going to commit to stopping Ashton Jeanty like UNLV tried to do in the conference championship game. But I think their defense is balanced enough. Their defensive line is is one of the best in the country. This is a mismatch on paper if we think about Boise State's offense versus Penn State's defense. But I think Boise State will hang in there for a half, and then it'll get ugly in the second. Give me Penn State by, let's say, 15. They'll cover.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Especially because now this is the Fiesta Bowl. We got to talk about Boise State's lore with the Fiesta Bowl. I believe they're 3-0 in this game. They beat Oklahoma, then they beat another Big Ten school, and then they beat like Arizona State or something like that in the bowl game. So they are undefeated in this bowl game, but this is a completely different Boise State team than the James Patterson era back in the late 2000s. And State Farm Stadium is a dome, I believe, so weather is not going to be a factor for this game, right?
I believe so.
The Arizona Cardinal Stadium, I believe, is a dome.
Oh, yeah.
So weather is not going to be a factor at all. This is going to be perfect conditions for both teams to run the ball. The quarterbacks are going to be the definition of game managers here. And Drew Aller is the better game manager. So Penn State should have the advantage in almost every facet besides the actual running back themselves. But two very good running backs against one very elite running back, I'll take the two very good ones.
Yeah, I think you broke that down perfectly. That pretty much sums up this game. And yeah, when I meant like big game, I meant against like big teams. Yeah, Boise State.
I'm busting your balls, my friend.
They got a good record on like bowl games, but like this would be the first time ever in the playoffs, and I just hope for a good matchup. I just think Penn State is gonna just beat them pretty good. So not a good matchup for Boise, but we'll see.
And I know you already had a video about the playoffs, but I don't know what you said in that video, but the committee has not gotten anything right so far. All the games have been blowouts. That's not good for the committee themselves. They really need to hope and pray for some good games here, or the SEC is going to be showing up to their door with pitchforks.
Yeah, I mean, it's that argument of like most deserving teams or the best teams. It's a tough thing to manage, especially if you're like the committee, because if one of these smaller schools go like undefeated and they don't get in, it's like they don't really have a fair chance. But when it's charity enough charity, they just kept on giving it this year. But
it's tough. It's an impossible job for the committee to do. And I think they made the right decision putting SMU in the playoff. But as you saw, I mean, SMU is a relatively old team on the defensive front and a relatively young team on offense.
Yeah.
And I already forgot who SMU played. Was it Penn State?
SMU played. It was Penn State.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
So you take a relatively young offense like SMU, who really didn't have any adversity all year, and you play one of the top 3 defenses in the nation, and you get 10 points. That's just what you get. Realistically, that's what's going to happen 9 out of 10 times. And
Yeah.
Like the committee can't do anything about that. They had to put SMU at 11.
It's kind of like this is kind of like a rough draft of like this 12-team playoffs. I think the seeding could be better because we'll get to the game, but like having Ohio State play Oregon in the second round, it's a bit early, and it's kind of punishing for having like the first seed in the whole playoffs. So
Yeah, I agree. That's a shitty draw for Oregon.
especially if you look at the other matchups, but yeah. And as far as the teams, maybe they could have included like Bama, Miami, and Ole Miss. Those 3 teams instead of SMU and maybe Boise and Arizona State. We don't know yet. We haven't seen those matchups. But like an SMU, who else? Indiana, and who was the other one that got blown? I don't know. Tennessee. They played.
Tennessee got blown out bad.
Yeah.
Clemson kept it close for a quarter, but then it got ugly.
Yeah, Clemson, they kind of kept it close, so I can't put that on them. But it's hard to argue that like Bama, Ole Miss, and Miami would have had closer games for sure.
I think the only argument is really Bama. Bama's defense is really good. Or Ole Miss. Bama and Ole Miss both could compete because their offense's fire is electric and their defense is very good. But, I mean, you slip up against Oklahoma and you get blown out by 30.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of tough to overlook that. And then Ole Miss losing to Kentucky, who had, I think, 3 wins this year. That's inexcusable. You just can't do it. So, I mean, there's flaws in all the teams. SMU won all their games. They lost to a BYU team who, I don't know if they're overrated or underrated. I think they looked pretty good in that bowl game.
Yeah.
But Colorado, are they a good team? I think they're very overhyped. I hopped on the hype train for the bowl game with Deion Sanders, Travis Hunter, and Shador. It didn't end well, obviously. But I do think BYU is a really good team. And SMU only lost to them by a point.
Yeah.
Before losing to Clemson by also a point. Or 3 points, whatever it was.
Yeah,
So
man.
it's tough. It's an impossible job. And the committee needs some good games, though. They need some barn burners in the next 2 days.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, the Giants saw how Shador played and realized they didn't want the number 1 pick, so they decided to go actually win their games.
Now they dropped all the way to the 5th?
Yeah, I think they fell to 6.
They went from number 1 to 6 just from 1 win. That's hilarious.
They said, screw that
I
pick.
love the New York franchises. The New York franchises kill me. And Dan's views on the Jets and the Giants are so funny.
Jet Life Stadium. All right. Moving on to the next playoff game. We got Texas and Arizona State at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. So, for this game, it's very similar from the last game. I think, Texas is going to come in with a really strong rushing defense, and Arizona State's going to come in with a really strong rushing attack, starring Cam Scatterbo. So, earlier in the week, Sam Levitt came out to the media and said he's a better quarterback than Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers heard that, and he gave him his flowers. So, we might see a Quinn Ewers masterclass here.
No chance.
His draft stock is low. He might be trying to boost it. I don't know. But Arizona State is one of the dogs, I think, that will actually keep the game close. I'm rooting for Arizona State. I kind of want them to win this game. But do I think they will? Not really. I think Arizona is just too big all around. They got the beefy boys, on the O-line and the D-line. You know, they just built different in Texas, especially in the SEC. They're just bigger. I don't know how Arizona State is going to compete with that, but I think their only hope might just be in Scatterbo. If he's able to run on that defense, they'll find success, but I don't know if they will. And then they might, if they get down big early, they're going to have to rely on Sam Levin. And, he's been decent all year long, but, his first SEC matchup, it's not something you want to rely on. So I think Texas is going to win. I don't want to say big, but I'm going to say Arizona State keeps it within 10.
Okay. You're saying the Sun Devils cover then?
Yeah.
Interesting. Arizona State, as we all know, have been sort of the Cinderella team this year. Boise State was expected to win the Mountain West. They were expected to be the 12th seed if they won that conference. And their only real loss should have been to Oregon, and that's what happened. Arizona State was projected to be last in the Big 12. I think we both shit on them bad in the offseason. Bad. Yeah. I think we even said, who the hell is Scatterbo? who is this guy?
Who's this guy with Tourette's? Turns out he does not have Tourette's. He just sweats a lot and didn't want his helmet to stick on his face.
So, long story short, we got that really wrong, Matt. And that's okay. That's fine. I remember saying in the offseason, Jeff Sims or whatever, the quarterback who is, I think he holds the record for most transfers so far. This is his 5th team. I was like, well, he's probably going to be the starter. Well, I was wrong. Sam Levitt, this guy, freshman, came in and threw for 2,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Very good season.
Good season.
He did what he had to do behind an elite rushing attack. When you have a good running back like Scatterbo, the play action passes are going to be open. You just have to hit the guy. You just have to hit your guy. And that's what he's been doing all year. He hasn't made many mistakes. He's had a rock-solid year. But like you said, Texas, these SEC boys are big and they're athletic, and it's nothing that Arizona State has ever seen. Not even close. I think the closest comparison you can give to Texas is BYU, just based on this past year. Maybe Kansas State, maybe, in terms of offensive and defensive fronts.
Yeah.
But I do want to say one thing real quick about Arizona State is I don't know what the hell they put in that Thanksgiving dinner, but since Thanksgiving, they have scored 100 points, and they've only given up 25. They are on a freaking roll since Thanksgiving. I don't know what the hell was in that stuffing.
They're feeling the beefiest?
These boys are killing it right now. Since Thanksgiving, I think Black Friday was good for them potentially because they won by 42 points.
Yeah.
But something's up in Arizona right now. They're very confident. I think they need to ride that confidence. They need to keep it going. If they have a slow start, I think it's over. This game needs to be, let's say, 14-3 in the first quarter for Arizona State to have any chance of winning this game. If this game is, let's say, 10-3 Texas or 14-3 Texas, it's over from the start. It's done. They're not gonna have the confidence because Texas is gonna keep. They're gonna talk smack the whole game. I think this Texas Longhorn team is one of the more confident teams as well, and they talk their shit. And if Texas gets up early, they are going to talk shit, and it's going to be like my older brother when he beat me in ping pong growing up. It would destroy me mentally, and I would never come back. I'd never recover.
Never touch the ping pong paddle ever again.
Give me the Longhorns so I start crying.
But no, yeah, I mean, this Texas team, they are cocky, and they've only lost to Georgia. That is a good resume.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I like what you said, they can't get down big, or else they're gonna have to stop rushing with the kids Scatterbo. Because once they give up that game plan, it's gonna be wraps for them. So.
Yeah, and then don't sleep on Texas' running attack. You have Weisner, who came out of nowhere. Really, I think he was the 3rd or 4th running back on the depth chart to start the season.
Yeah.
And as you can see, he's close to 1,000 yards. He's going to hit it this game. But then don't forget about Jaden Blue. I was big on him to start the season. He got hurt in the beginning, but he's back, and he looked damn good against Clemson. I think he had 2 touchdowns. One of them where he just ran past everyone, and it looked easy to him. He's a legitimate track star, Jaden Blue, and you do not want to find that guy in open space because he will just run past you.
Yeah.
I think this Texas team they're good. They're good all around. They have Golden, the wide receiver, who wasn't even the top guy. I think the top guy is Bond, right?
Yeah, it should have been Isaiah Bond.
Isaiah Bond. But he was hurt last game, so they didn't even Clemson didn't even have to deal with Bond, and they won by 20 points. I think Bond, you have Jaden Blue, Wisner, Quinn Ewers is not going to make too many mistakes. I know he fumbles the ball quite a bit. He's got a couple interceptions that he would like to have back, but he's an overall very solid player. I don't see him making mistakes in this game. I think Texas wins, and unfortunately, I think they cover as well.
Yeah, unfortunate for the committees as well. So, with all that being said, we'll move on to the next game. Our next playoff game, we got the Rose Bowl. A perfect game for the Rose Bowl, actually. This is awesome. You got Ohio State and Oregon, and just as Nick Saban said earlier in the Pat McAfee show, I didn't actually watch the clips, I just saw the headlines. This is a representation of the issues with like the seeding. The only undefeated team is being rewarded with Oregon State in the second round, whereas the other teams got to play in Arizona State, I'm not going to say Notre Dame, but they're a good team too. But you got Boise State, Arizona State, But with that being said, this is going to be a rematch. They played early in the season, and Will Howard fumbled that game away, and Oregon took that one away. Man, they just got lucky, honestly. Yeah. So, the key to this game is honestly might come down to Will Howard. He's been making some questionable decisions. I think if Ohio State wants to win this game, they're going to have success in the run game. Because once they didn't have success in the run game against Michigan, it just went downhill. They were able to get some of that against Tennessee. And then Jeremiah Smith, man, that guy is a dog. And he's only a freshman. Mm-hmm. But Oregon, again, they're undefeated. They played some tough competition. They played the same Michigan team and beat them by 21. But I'm not going to hold that against Ohio State because that game just means more for Michigan, That's a true rivalry game. They got a great quarterback with Dylan Gabriel. They got a great running back in James, and then they got a great weapon in Tez Johnson. So this is probably the most fun game in the playoffs. So I don't know. This is definitely 50-50, but Ryan Day, he has a record against playing tough competition, especially in playoff time. And I like how Dan Lanning's coaching this Oregon team. I'm going to ride the High Hands Ducks. They're undefeated, and they got a good coach behind them, got a good squad. Overall, pretty healthy. Ohio State, I got some questions. Just pretty much the decision-making of Will Howard and whether they can find success in the run game. So I'm going to go with Oregon. Give me the Ducks. Give me Ducky Irving.
There we go. Speaking of Bucky Irving, go Buccaneers. I actually didn't tell you, but for Christmas I got 3 jerseys. I got a Tampa Bay Bucks jersey, a Dolphins jersey, and a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey.
Oh, look at that.
I'm loaded up. I am loaded up. But just to respond to Nick Saban, because this is one of my points as well with the reseeding, I do think they need to do the reseeding. But if reseeding was a thing for this college football playoff, the number 1 team would be playing Ohio State because they're they're the lowest ranked team.
Yeah.
So reseeding didn't matter at all because the bracket is laid out in that format for it to be, if the higher seed wins, the appropriate team plays the higher level team, So Oregon's playing Ohio State, the number 2 team plays 7. So reseeding is irrelevant this year because it doesn't matter. Maybe next round it would matter, but right now it doesn't matter. So that's the one response I would have to Nick Saban is, who cares? It's an irrelevant talking point this year because it worked out the way it was supposed to work out. But let's say if Indiana shocked the world and beat Notre Dame, then that's pretty shitty that Indiana now has to play the number 2 team when Oregon should probably play Indiana, and then Ohio State would play Georgia. But that didn't happen this year. We don't really have to have that talking point. It's unnecessary noise, honestly, for me. Let's just let the committee deal with the first year of the playoff and ride the waves and then lick their wounds after. This game is very interesting, though. I love this matchup. I loved it the first time they played. I was not able to watch this game last time they played because Hurricane Milton came ravaging towards the Tampa area, and I fled. I didn't have power. So I did not watch this game. But I do remember the highlights, and I remember Oregon Ducks winning it on a technicality almost.
So watch with Lieutenant Dan.
I was watching over Lieutenant Dan, actually. I was in the boat with him. He was dropping N-bombs, and I was there with him.
Holy smokes. Lieutenant Dan, what you doing?
Do you remember that? When he was on Twitch or whatever the hell?
No. I didn't know there's a thing.
He was like, dog, he was 2 minutes into his streaming career and just dropped the N-bomb. And then he got kicked off the platform.
Yeah, one job, dude. There he goes.
And he hasn't been seen since. But no, I was actually driving home when this game was going on, so I missed it. And I came back to my apartment with no power. But whatever. I'm excited to watch this game this week. I unfortunately have the Buckeyes winning, but barely. It is my number 1 game, spoiler alert, in Bowl Mania. It was going to be my number 1 game regardless of a Tennessee or a Buckeyes won, because I had both of those teams in my national championship game, in my prediction, so I had to rock with both of them. But I can make an argument for Ohio State here. And Will Howard and Dylan Gabriel are one of the more experienced quarterbacks in the college football playoff. These guys have a combined 9 years in college. They have reached many accolades. Will Howard is a 2-time Big 12 champion. He is a 0-time Big 10 champion because Dylan Gabriel took that from him this year. Dylan Gabriel played very well in Oklahoma in the Big 12. Had many battles, actually. I forgot about that. Will Howard and Dylan Gabriel have played against each other a number of times. I think this might be their 4th matchup in their collegiate career.
Yeah.
I wish I had their head-to-head record. Maybe, Matt, you could do some Googling magic for me as I ramble. But Ohio State has 2 elite running backs. You have Quinshon Judkins and you have Trevion Henderson. They are elite. If Trevion Henderson wanted to play anywhere else, he'd be the number 1 running back, and he would probably have 1,000 yards rushing as well. But because Judkins is just as good, they split the touches. And then obviously you have Jeremiah Smith. You have Emeka Ibuka, and then you have someone else. Yeah. I forgot his name. I think it's Innis, Brandon Innis, Ohio State. I mean, this Ohio State is wide receiver U, honestly, just based on volume. This team is stacked. Their defense is the only question mark I have. Can Ohio State hold Oregon's offense? Because Oregon's offense, as I'm about to say, is just as good as Ohio State's. They match up perfectly. You have the 2 elite quarterbacks. You have, I don't know what James's first name is, but I didn't even know how good this guy was. Almost 1,300 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns. He is honestly killing it this year. I didn't even know about that. He's kind of a silent killer, I would say. So they have a very good rushing attack. Obviously, you mentioned Tej Johnson. There's that white guy. I forgot his name.
Brady Bidwell.
No. I don't know.
Preston Alford?
When I see it. Nope. They're just naming all the white guys.
Kyler Casper? Jack Wrestler?
Oh my God.
These aren't real
What is
names.
This guy's name?
Terrence Ferguson? Cade
Yes,
Cotton?
thank you. Ferguson.
He's a tight end.
Oh, damn it. That's why I couldn't find him. Well, Terrence Ferguson is Dylan Gabriel's number 2 target behind Tej Johnson. But then you also have Trayshawn Holden. I forgot about him. And then Jeremiah McClellan. They have a very solid passing attack there at Oregon. They always do. They've been having a massive pass attack since Chip Kelly was in office over there.
True.
So this Oregon team, I think it's going to come down to both defenses. I think Oregon's defense is very underrated and has been underrated all year, but they also gave up 34 points against Boise State. So I don't really know what to think of both these teams. I think Ohio State, if both teams play their best game, Ohio State will win. But obviously that's not what happens. There's going to be turnovers, there's going to be fumbles, there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be fourth down conversions, there's going to be coaching mishaps. And I'm going to just pray that Oregon, the lights are too bright for them, and they make more mistakes than Ohio State, because I think this game is going to be very close, and it's either one's game. But give me Ohio State by, let's say, 1 point. Screw it.
Fair. All right. Moving on to our last game for the second round of the playoffs. We got Notre Dame and Georgia. Now, this is a very interesting game because right now, they match up very well. Notre Dame is a strong running team led by Riley Leonard and as well as Love in the backfield. Georgia is a very strong rush defense, and that comes up huge in multiple games. Now, if you flip the ball over, Georgia, they are going to be running it with Gunnar Stockton. So the passing threat might not be there. But as far as he's more of a runner, well, I take that back. He's not more of a runner, but he kind of reminds me of like a Baker Mayfield-esque kind of player, where their Georgia probably be relying on the run have more than normally. Now Notre Dame, they're strong in the secondary. They have a pretty strong secondary this year. So I don't think they have to worry about Gunnar Stockton. So, very interesting matchup. The Vegas has this as Pick'em, or even like Georgia's being slightly favored, -1 in some books. This is going to be the All-Star Sugar Bowl, and it's going to be a very interesting matchup. Georgia's not as strong as they usually are, Usually they'll be like a heavy favorite against Notre Dame once they're fully healthy, but no Carson Beck. Notre Dame's going to put up an interesting fight. I think I'm going to ride with Notre Dame just because Georgia's going to have to ride with Gunnar Stockton. We don't know what this guy is all about, but he was able to win it against Texas in the OT, so he's not all that bad. So, I just got some more questions. He's going to be tested with this Notre Dame defense regardless, and Riley Leonard's going to be tested against this Georgia defense as well. Kirby Smart, he always had his boys ready to play. They always step up in big games. And now this is a big game. Kirby Smart's going to have the boys ready. So, can't count out Georgia as well. So, just because Georgia had Kirby Smart, I almost want to go with Georgia. But I'm just going to go with Notre Dame just to get Georgia out of the playoffs for once. Excluding last year.
That's fair enough. I think we're all sick of Georgia. We're always sick of the team that dominates. Let's just call ourselves out here and be honest with each other. We both don't really care for the Kansas City Chiefs because they've been dominating the NFL the last couple of years. We're both Dolphins fans, so we hate the Bills. We hated the Patriots when they were up. We just hate dominance. We just want parity. We want more parity when it comes to football. And Georgia Bulldogs being at the top for, I think this is their 6th year. It might be longer than that. I think it was 2016 was... No, it was like 2018, I think. It was the 2018 National Championship game where Devontae Smith, damn it. I said Donovan. Freaking...
Donovan Smith? Donovan McNabb?
Whatever, man. Yeah, there we go. But Georgia's been at the top of college football for, let's say, 8 years. And we want that to change a bit. And Notre Dame is the perfect team for Georgia to play. I wish Carson Beck was playing just because that would mean the Notre Dame Fighting Irish would win because he would throw 4 interceptions.
That's facts.
But because Gunnar Stockton is playing...
They have a chance.
I was talking to my uncle about this, actually. And I don't know how this is going to... be receptive, but Kirby Smart loves his white, wiry quarterbacks. Let's just go back. So we had my boy,
Jake Fromm?
It's not JT Barrett. No, it's not JT Barrett. I always say JT Barrett.
Jake Fromm?
It's Barrett. No. Oh, Jake Fromm, yes. That's quarterback number 1. Oh, JT Daniels.
Daniels.
I say JT. Yeah, JT Barrett, JT Daniels. So you had Jake Fromm, JT Daniels, and then Stetson Bennett played for JT Daniels. Carson Beck. Meanwhile, in this rotation, he had Justin Fields, who he never played. So
Yeah.
Justin Fields went to Ohio State. And then after Stetson Bennett, you have Carson Beck. And then now you have Gunnar Stockton, whoever the hell this guy is. I'm just saying, Kirby Smart, really, he has some philosophy when it comes to quarterback, and you have to respect it. He just finds the whitest guy, and he has to be kind of wiry. He can't be, he's got to be sort of fragile. I don't know
He
if
has
you
to have a
saw
strong
JT,
Snapchat game, too.
Yes.
And they got to be a horrible driver.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh no. Oh no. We're going down dangerous territory there.
Watch out. Well,
you gotta
Athens is safe
you gotta
this
have
week.
a Snapchat.
Athens is safe this
You have
week.
to
All
have
the boys
a
are in
minimum
New
Snapchat
Orleans.
score. A minimum Snapchat score of what? 250,000? We saying for the quarterback?
Me over.
Okay, over. But yeah, Gunnar Stockton, this guy. I don't even know what stars this guy was in high school. Let's see. He was a 4-star recruit.
Yeah.
So Kirby Smart goes for his highly recruited, highly touted white quarterbacks. That's what Kirby Smart likes. And it's worked. So don't knock it until you try it, I guess.
He's a scrappy quarterback. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I will say that. But Riley Leonard versus a relatively unproven Gunnar Stockton. We know he can take a hit. Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah.
That hit against Macumba was a rough one.
Dude got
And
concussed.
I'm sure he had a
and
concussion. I'm sure he had a concussion.
that was damn
But
near
they
almost
hit that.
guaranteed.
He was running off adrenaline, but yeah, there's no chance he was not a concussion protocol, and they kept it under wraps for a month. I will bet money on that. But whatever, who cares? It's crazy to think that Jeremiah Love's a sophomore. He's going to be there for 2 more years, potentially,
Yeah.
as a fighting Irish. And then you have Jadarian Price as the backup, who could play anywhere in the country if he were to leave. And Notre Dame is stacked. You have Bo Collins, wide receiver. You have Faison, this guy who was a lacrosse player last year with Tyler Buckner, if you remember that name. Tyler Buckner is actually a wide receiver on this team still. So this Notre Dame Fighting Irish team is really good offensively, and then they're sort of like Penn State, where their defense is underrated, or not underrated, I say underappreciated, this defense that Notre Dame has. They are very good. I think the most points they gave up this year was against USC in the last game of the season, 35 points. This team is very good on the defensive front. Their linebackers are probably the best in the nation. And I think Georgia Bulldogs, they have themselves a tough matchup. But if anyone can win this game, it's Kirby Smart with his offensive schemes. I'm gonna go with Notre Dame just because I want something new, like you, and I do genuinely think they can win this game.
Yeah. This just might be one of those like classic like trap games where like, you know, the dynasty, the quarterback is down. They got this other quarterback in there. Things not going their way this season. And then you got the other team that's been pretty strong. I'm biting the trap again. Just give me Notre Dame. But, yeah. Hopefully, definitely these last 2 games that we just talked about will make the playoffs a lot more interesting compared to the first round. And other than that, we'll be in the home stretch of the final games of the season. So, with that being said.
And we could be talking in a week from now and say, wow, Georgia, they destroyed Notre Dame. I mean, that's a very real possibility. That could happen. So Georgia's definitely not out of it. I'm not saying anything. I just want Notre Dame to win just for some parity.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's it for the second round of the playoffs. We got a few more bowl games, and then we got the third round, and then the national championship, the ultimate goal. So, I appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys watching. Jesus. Do you got anything else?
This video will come out after the fact, but catch me at the ReliaQuest Bowl on TV.
Ooh.
I'll be there. And let's go Bama. Roll Tide.
Yeah, I need you to go there with the Reese Football billboard.
I will. Yeah, for sure. You'll see me.
Bet. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, show your support, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.